Okay, welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. Before we hit the pitch, if you enjoy the show or love women's football, the international break edition, as much as your boys do, kick it with us already. We're doing this every single week, sometimes twice a week. This week, twice a week. You already know what time it is. Subscribe or follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to watch or listen. At ITC_pod on X, at Into the Channel pod on Threads. We're back on Threads, baby. We're here. IG, we'll get you the IG link here in a minute. I am your host, Dino DeCespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What is up, man?
Feeling fantastic, buddy. Fresh off a victory for one squad. That's pretty important to us. I see you repping. There was another match on Friday. Result didn't quite go my way, but it's okay. We drink a celebratory beer, and we enjoy the festivities related to that.
Oh, nice touch there. I like that.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. What you got over there?
I got the old plain Jane Florida Man double IPA.
For
this Sunday afternoon.
There we go. Be careful with that.
Cheers.
Cheers to you, my good man. So you watch any interesting matches yesterday?
I did. I got fired up for, I think we can say it, the beginning of the Emma Hayes era.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I was fired up for, I mean, we talked about this last week a bit. What were the lineups going to look like? And I had a little fun going back to our USWNT Paris 2024 Olympics roster draft. Go watch that video if you haven't already. Turns out, buddy, we nailed 9 of the 11. And one of the ones we missed was Alyssa Nair. So
okay, built an excuse there.
Yep. So I'm counting that as 9 out of 10. But we've got back channels to Coach Hayes, so I mean, maybe it's a little bit of a cheat code for us. But yeah, the only one we missed, we had Shaw in the lineup. Turns out, so Sophie Smith was the one who got the look to get it started. But I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like we're on a little USWNT wavelength out here.
Okay, that's good to hear. I think you could also make the argument, obviously, because of current form, Sophie Smith has looked incredible in the NWSL, and Jaden Shaw has had a little bit of a nagging injury. So, I think we got a little excuse there, too. So, 9 out of 11 with one clear-cut injury replacement. I'd say your boys were pretty on it so far. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, we were on it. We'll see what the roster ends up looking like. I want to start there, actually. I don't think there was a lot of surprises around the starters.
Yeah.
But when you look at, let me rewind a little bit. Only 18 are going to get to go to Paris.
Yep.
Let's assume it's 2 goalkeepers, 16 field players. 16 field players made appearances in this match against South Korea that the U.S. won 4-0. So we've got the 10 starters, and here's who came off the bench. Casey Kruger, Crystal Dunn, Rose Lavelle, Jaden Shaw, Corbin Albert, and Sam Staub.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if Emma Hayes wanted to get a look at the starters and then say, okay, let's see of the bench what we're going to be looking at.
Yeah.
Obviously, some key players didn't get into the game. Alex Morgan, Lily Johannes, Emily Sonnet, Hal Hirschfeld, Corey Bethune with a little bit of an asterisk. But I think going to be tough choices. Do you think that those subs maybe tipped Coach Hayes' hand a little bit on who we might see heading out to Paris?
That's why I like doing this show with you, buddy. I did not consider that in real time. But yeah, I think that would make sense, right? I mean, this is part of the buildup to prepare for how are we going to win this major tournament. Well, one of the things that Emma Hayes said as she's stepping off the podium for the last time at Chelsea is, I got to figure out a way to fucking beat Spain now. Or something to that effect. I don't think that's a direct quote, but it's very close. So yeah, if you're in her spot, you bring on Kruger right after halftime. I thought that was a really interesting sub for Fox. I didn't see any updates. I don't know if Emily Fox picked up a knock or anything like that. But yeah, you're gonna play Dunn. I think we're gonna talk about Rose Lavelle specifically later. I think a lot of folks truly believe that Corbin Albert has a spot in this side. Sam Staub, I talked about just based on form, like with Sophie Smith, you have to put her in. Obviously, her resume speaks for itself. But based on current form, I think Emma Hayes probably looks at Sam Staub and goes, okay, this is a player I really have to take a serious look at. So that's a great call out by you. I think it could tip her hand a little bit, or at least it tips her hand that she is very obviously assessing all these things. And this was her first batch of, okay, let me get a look at these players first.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Sam Staub, a little bit of a surprise in terms of being named to the roster. But You think about a Spain, you think about a Germany who look good in Euro qualifiers this weekend as well. France, obviously you saw them firsthand.
I did.
I can see Sam Staub definitely making this roster.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think, you know, like you look at a player like Jenna Neiswanger, who was very effective in the game, but she's essentially an offensive player, like in the left back spot, which is great. But I think against some of these teams, in some of these moments, maybe you nick a little 1-0 lead or a little 2-1 lead, and you want to kind of switch things up and maybe be a little bit more defensive. I think Staub's a great option there. Obviously, in her athletic prime and playing really, really well at WSL.
Yeah.
That shrinks the pool a little further.
It does.
I think it's going to be a little tricky. The other thing I thought about, Alex Morgan. So I texted you this. Let me just double check this. She did not make our final 18 in our roster draft.
No.
Maybe a couple weeks after that, I texted you. I was like, Alex Morgan, obviously certified legend, 223 caps, 123 goals, 53 assists, won everything. You know,
Pretty good.
No arguments there. But my question was, should Alex Morgan get the LeBron, Kobe, Team USA treatment where it's just like, all right, that's one spot. Now, I'm not going to kick it to you just yet. First off, watching these 4 offensive players that Hayes started, Smith, Rodman, Macario, Swanson. First off, holy shit. we'll get into them a little bit later. And then Jaden Shaw is a 5th attacking player.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, if Morgan doesn't get in, and I'm not sure kind of like where she's at health-wise in either of these South Korea matches, now it's a little bit risky thinking about, okay, is she going to be one of those names coming to Paris? Where do you land on this?
Man, I've been thinking about this ever since we texted about it. You mentioned them. Morgan's numbers, they speak for themselves. 123 goals, 53 assists, absolute stone cold legend. I think what comes along with that is that a lot of these young players idolize her. You've heard them talk about it in press conferences and post-match appearances. I get to play with Alex Morgan. Like, she is a popular figure in the squad. We talked about it at press conferences. Haran goes up there with the captain's armband, and Morgan's still sitting right next to her because she's the elder statesperson. She's right there. But then you talk about the numbers game too, and there are 18 spots on the roster. And if you want the most attacking type players up there, and who can give you a little more flexibility than maybe what Morgan is able to give you at this stage in her career, it's a real discussion of what do you value more. And not even to say all Alex Morgan is going to bring is vibes and leadership. She can still go. She can still play. We've seen her play well recently in some of these international competitions, and certainly for the wave in spots. But when it's time to beat the Spains, Frances, Germany's, England's of the world, not England in this Olympics, but whatever.
Talk about that one later.
I digress. But yeah, when it comes time to beat those elite squads, you need pace and you need to be able to stretch the field. And I'm not so sure Morgan offers that right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think the one place where might be interesting, maybe there's a spot for her, you know, for more of a set piece type attack against South Korea. I think set pieces may be one of the highlights.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think Morgan is good on set pieces. We know she's an aerial threat, and I'm totally with you. The States looked really good against South Korea. Now, they had a bit of a size advantage. Obviously, goal-scoring machine, as she's often considered, Tierna Davidson. Nets a brace. Off of 2 set pieces. The delivery on the first set piece from Macario is a laser right onto Davidson's forehead. So that's a great look, seeing Macario take those corners. She's very clearly a tactician when it comes to spotting who's making the run and delivering it perfectly. I think that is probably the best argument for Morgan is, hey, can you give us 20 at the end of a match? And I thought about it, you know, in World Cup 2015, Abby Wambach played that role. In World Cup 2019, Carly Lloyd played that role. If that is what you kind of graduate Morgan into, of like, hey, look, I cannot pencil you into the starting lineup. You're probably at no point, unless something happens or unless we really like the look, where you're probably not getting 70 in any of these matches. But can you give me 20? Can you give me 30 in maybe a difficult spot? I think that's the argument for it. But as far as the set pieces go, looked real organized, looked real sharp, looked real intentional against South Korea yesterday.
Yeah, and I think thinking about World Cup 2023, where the USA struggled, didn't quite have the talent or the sharp shooting to get the ball to Morgan like we saw Macario able to get it to Tierna Davidson. So obviously Macario not on that World Cup team, Swanson not on that World Cup team. Not the same. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Sophia Smith.
Yeah.
So we talked about the form. Obviously she was on our bench for after our roster draft. She gets the start over Jaden Shaw if you're juxtaposing our lineup, our little rinky-dink lineup with Emma Israel lineup against South Korea. I thought Sophia Smith was awesome. And I think a leaf that she turned over in the NWSL, let me pick my head up. Let's see what's out here. And let me just, the same way I would fire one in, top corner, upper 90, like let me try to hit this pass with the same level of timing, accuracy, precision. She's able to do that, find Swanson to kind of open things up. And then even with the second goal, she gets a key interception, turns into a Lindsey Horan chance that becomes the corner, that becomes the Macario to Davidson, 1-2 for the second goal. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just really love the way Sophie Smith is playing, essentially just playmaking, creating, being dangerous. Like she drew a good amount of gravity on that play with like a little cutback away from goal to kind of open up a little space for cutting Mal Swanson. Yep. And just so smart. I think we've seen her honestly grow up a lot since the World Cup. And maybe that's even being unfair, but she's embracing a new part of her game in a huge, huge way, and massive dividends it's paying.
Yeah. We've seen her as the NWSL MVP. We've seen her NWSL Golden Boot winner multiple times at this point. But I think you're right. This little piece that she can lean into a little more with the playmaking on that opening goal, you know how you and I always love to give one more little step rewind. The ball from Girma into Smith was pretty audacious. Like it was a long pass, probably like a 20-yard pass into a little bit of traffic. And Smith knows how to make the exact perfect turn. And in some spots, and I feel like in that 2023 World Cup, which you alluded to, in some spots you see Smith there go, let me get it over here, and I'm going to try to cut back and then rip the shot myself.
Yep, head down.
Exactly. It was perfect control. And the pass over to a darting Swanson is just perfectly weighted for Swanson to get onto and fire at the goal. And not only is Sophie Smith doing that a huge benefit to unlock a lot of things, but when she is doing that and it's to Mallory Swanson, now we're really in business because Swanson, she's got her finishing boots on every match pretty much.
100%. Yeah, I mean, it was also pretty creative, right? Like, it was just like, all right, let me little dance out and then back in, 2 steps ahead of that South Korea defense. Oh, yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Naomi Girma too. She's definitely for this U.S. women's national team playing that. Obviously, we just watched Barcelona. She's playing that Kira Walsh role, just not from the midfield as a center back, just like initiating everything. It's like, all right, ping here, bam, bam, and then just kind of get everything in motion. Her game is so clean, so crisp. Defensively, she's just always on point. She's just a special player. I love that she got the armband when Horan comes off.
First time captaining the squad in a national team match, from what I understood. 23 years old, man. One of the smartest players on the pitch every match she plays in.
Yeah.
She's the natural captain in waiting on this squad. I don't even know who the close second place is for that role. On a team with a lot of great players, just her steadiness, her decision-making, everything that you're talking about, kind of helping orchestrate the offense, that is a perfect player you want for your team captain.
Absolutely. And she had a great game.
Oh, yeah.
Let's work our way into the midfield a little bit. We mentioned those 4 players up top, Macario, Smith, Rodman, and Swanson. That maybe nudged Lindsey Horan a little bit deeper, which I was kind of into, and then that kind of gives Coffey and Horan a little bit of chance to, win balls, make a pass, make a little run. What did you see specifically with those 2 in the midfield?
Absolutely love that look from this squad. I love a good 4-2-3-1 formation. And to have your 2 be Sam Coffey and Lindsey Horan, again, I know I just mentioned it with Girma, but 2 of your other smartest players on the field. It really, you got geniuses all over the squad for USA, but Coffey and Horan, Coffey is very, very comfortable in that defensive midfielder spot. Tenacious. She wins balls. She wins duels. She's standing in the right spot to get interceptions to kind of clean up loose passes from the other squad. And Horan, just in her experience over at Lyon, where she's doing exactly what you're talking about, where she's like, okay, this is my turn. I'm gonna make this run. and they tend to be well timed. But she's also disciplined enough to, stay back and make sure she's kind of doing that dirty work, frankly, in the midfield to win it for her players up forward. And I believe, and we could maybe work with the magic of editing here, but I believe Horan was among the most traveled players, if you will, in the UEFA Women's Champions League. I think she logged around the most kilometers in the tournament. And we're back. Yes, I nailed it. Lindsay ran 56.8 kilometers covered throughout the course of the UEFA Women's Champions League. That's some good cardio, but she's not out there just getting cardio. She's out there bossing a lot of these matches.
Yeah. And I think against some of those attacking midfields, thinking about Spain here specifically,
yep,
love to have her a little deeper, just kind of mixing it up with those midfielders. And like I said, I think Coffey's great at this too, turning defense into offense really, really quickly. Obviously, both of those players are excellent at that specific skill. Horan probably a little bit more offensive minded,
yep.
which is great to have. But obviously, she's got the physicality, she's got the smarts, she's got the toughness, she's got the cardio. To your point, right. So I really, really appreciated that setup. I've mentioned it a couple times just because I was enchanted by it. Those four up top,
yep.
The 3-1 of the 4-2-3-1. First of all, when I saw the lineup, I was fucking. I was thrilled. I was just like, what is this going to look like? And it looked as exciting as I was expecting, like with regard to creativity, where the attacks are coming from. I'm going to rewind again to the 2023 World Cup. Basically, I'll always remember that as the let's get Alex Morgan the ball World Cup. And Sophia Smith, it's like, all right, well, just we'll get to you. Trinity Rodman, we'll get to you. Let's see what Alex has got. Yeah. This, the complete opposite, 180 degrees. The attacks coming from everywhere. Obviously, we mentioned getting initiated from the midfield. A nice Swanger doing a lot of initiating as well.
Yeah.
And then any combination of those four players, sometimes Horan leaking up to take part as well, just created a lot of unpredictability, which I was just in awe of. I think I was just like kind of been waiting for this for a good minute here. What did you think of the U.S. attack? How did you experience it?
I really liked that early on. It was, let's get the ball out on the right wing to Trinity Rodman. Let's try that look a few times. You can go to that well and be like, okay, there's a good chance that we're going to have some success here with her speed and strength, her ability to get to the end line and playing crosses. And she did that. And then exactly to your point, that interplay between Coffey, Horan, and Macario, and then with Girma and Neiswanger mixed in on top of that, now you have all these different angles because Macario is such a genius passer herself and probably in the mix to kind of put her hand up. And I think Emma Hayes has felt this way about Macario. Hey, maybe I'm your number 10. Maybe I'm your central midfielder who stirs this whole drink. She's going to go either way. So now you have Sophie Smith attacking from the left. Julie Foudy did an awesome job of pointing out that there were a lot of like just overlapping runs and players just weaving around each other. We did not see that in the 2023 World Cup. This was miles ahead of that kind of attack, which is funny to say as Vlatko Andonovski coaches the most prolific offense in the NWSL. It's like, bro, where were you? Like, what were we doing back then?
I think we saw in the documentary. I don't think he had a ton of authority with regards to that team and what they were going to be out there running. It's like, all right, you could draw whatever you want on the whiteboard, but how about we do our own thing out here?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I don't want to relitigate the past. That wasn't working.
It was not.
This looked like it could be a blueprint to be very, very difficult for some of these other teams to deal with, especially like you mentioned, Smith going one way, Swanson going the other, Macario looping around, Neiswanger looping around the other way, Rodman. It was a lot to deal with, and it's going to be a lot to deal with for some of these other teams. And to rewind back a little bit, I think that's kind of what makes the Alex Morgan piece tricky. I mean, I think you could absolutely make the case, she's got a huge role to play on this team, can contribute on the field, but just with those four, that's four minus Jaden Shaw. So if you talk about that number 10 spot, it's probably Macario or Shaw, right? For who's going to get most of the starting looks there. I mean, obviously, like these players are so versatile and so talented that who knows what Emma Hayes might cook up, but that's from a layman standpoint, that's kind of what we might expect.
Yep.
Then you look at Morgan, it's like, is that what this team needs? Basically, if you have these first 14, 15, maybe 16 spots penciled in, now we're just kind of rounding out the edges and making sure we've got a well-rounded team here.
We talk about that. Can you come in and give us 20 minutes? Can you come in and give us 30 minutes role? I think there's another player in that mix that we should talk about, and that would be one Rose Lavelle, who came into this match in the 61st minute to give you that last 30, and that first 15 that she gave you. It's like every time you put Lavelle on the field, your opponent is just like, oh, Jesus, like she's running right at us as soon as she gets onto the pitch. We texted about it a little bit. I just absorbed it as, oh, there's Rose. She's here now. Like everybody's on the back foot for South Korea now because you have to chase her down because as soon as she gets the ball, she's going forward. What did you see from her?
Her and Mal Swanson have the same quality of elusiveness.
Yeah.
If you want to get hands on Lindsey Horan and get physical with her, you can.
Yeah.
If you want to get hands on Swanson or Lavelle, you can't.
You cannot.
She's so creative, so gifted, so electric on the ball, and her vision. The second Swanson goal, like the pass is like, what the fuck? Like world class. Like it just is what it is. And I mentioned in my notes Manu Ginobili for Rose Lavelle.
I love that.
In terms of like off the bench, very, very limmy, very long, tough to deal with, very creative, very unorthodox.
Yeah.
And Manu was a lefty, which he was still fooling people, the year before he retired. People forgot he was left-handed. Lavelle the same. It's just like you take a false step and she's just cooking you the opposite direction and then passing an absolute dime back where you just were, just because like that space is now opened up. I don't care where she's at form-wise or stamina-wise. I just don't care. She makes brilliant plays. She can play kind of all over the field. She's just a menace. Yeah. She's the absolute perfect substitute just to say, hey, we're going to catch them off guard. And she's so good that you can, if you're Emma Hayes, you can like beat on a specific one-on-one duel over and over and over again, knowing that you're going to bring Lavelle in with 25 minutes, 30 minutes left in the match. And it's already going to be 2 or 3 really, really high quality chances just because you'll have worn down a specific part of the field.
That's such a great point. And on top of it, it works in both of the scenarios that you might be thinking about where you might be in a match against France or Spain. Maybe you're down one. Maybe you're ahead one. If you're ahead, as we saw in this Korea match, you can put her on and she's not going to turn the ball over, but she still creates that look. She helps you hold possession. Mm-hmm. She helps you do all the good stuff you want to do if you're ahead. And if you're behind and you need to inject some fresh energy, she's doing that too. You could put her in pretty much any situation. And like you said, create that look, create that kind of difference, create that kind of unorthodox shape that now the defense has to take because you don't know where she's going to run and you damn sure don't know where she's going to pass it.
Yeah.
And now she's just completely changed the geometry of the field for the last 1/3 of a match. And your opponents have to adjust to that.
Yeah. And then to bring it back to Foudy's point, you have all these runs weaving in and out, and you have Lavelle who can pick out anybody she wants, anytime she wants. Yeah. And if she needs a little space, she'll just create it. So I don't know. To me, we had her on R18. I think she's got to be a lock to make the roster. I mean, you just see these flashes like, oh, I'd love to have that against Spain or France, just for 20 minutes, just to see what it looks like. And you just have so much trust in a player like that. A couple other players I wanted to hit real quick. Mal Swanson, obviously no World Cup for Swanson either.
Yeah.
What are you going to remember from the South Korea performance from Mallory Swanson?
I think that she's just continuing to round into better form. Like, we have to remember, she's coming back from a devastating injury. Mm-hmm. We've talked about it throughout watching the NWSL. I think she has 3 goals and 2 assists. She's appeared in 10 of the Red Stars' 11 matches. She's kind of helped that club get off to a really good start in the season. And I don't know if she's back to full Mal Swanson form yet.
Oh my God.
So I think a world exists, and I don't think we're far away from living in this world, where Mal Swanson is very much in the conversation of, is she the unquestioned number 9? Is she at worst one of the 3 most important players on the squad? I think we're headed that direction.
I 100% agree with that, man. I think she's I know we had her super early with regard to our roster draft just because of the finishing. Yeah. There's another area where the U.S. really struggled. You kind of rewind back to the World Cup. It's like needed that relatively low probability Lindsey Horan goal against the Netherlands just to even things up. And you even had to poke the bear a little bit just to get her fired up to be able to make that one happen. Right. But the scoring was just so few and far between. Obviously, they created a lot of shots against Sweden in a match they ultimately lost. But Swanson, you just trust her to find the back of the net. For as simple as that sounds, it's just like, give me 5 Swanson chances in a match, and I feel good that we're going to notch 1 or 2.
100%. Totally agree with that. And I like when we were talking Lavelle that you made the comp between Lavelle and Swanson. There was a point in yesterday's match where Swanson just carries the ball 40 yards. Mm-hmm. And I just go, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what she does. Like, she had that play against the Reign in the NWSL where she carried the ball damn near 80 yards. Like, she just has that in her game. So it's like, I'll get the ball forward, but now with this interplay with Sophie Smith and kind of opening up her passing, and Swanson can pass it too now. So like, let's not forget about that part. She's not above giving you a back heel, leaving it off for Smith. We know her finishing prowess as well. So I think we're not far off. And it's going to be interesting. We don't have to worry about this for a while, unfortunately, because of injury. But we are going to be in for the me official Mallory Swanson. Who are we going to play at number 9? What do we need in that particular match? But while Fischel recovers, and we wish her a full and speedy recovery. Mm-hmm. But while she's out, I think Swanson, as Dino likes to say, put it in Sharpie. She's up top for the squad right now.
That's right. I agree with that. She just keeps getting better and better. And I think Trinity Rodman, I want to talk about her really quickly as well, just because I'm gonna pick on Sweden a little bit. Sweden's got good players, but they've got a style to them. Norway, they've got a style to them as well. Yeah. Italy, they've got a style to them as well. Trying to defend this US team is like, you need to have every type of defender, just because when you think about, I told you, like Swanson, Lavelle, elusive. You cannot touch them. Yep. Smith, super quick, super creative. And now that she's passing, she's just a dual threat. She's just like a triple threat. Essentially, she could run, she could pass, she could shoot. Rodman is just a foul magnet. Yeah. She just is going to foul you out. It's basically like, she turns everybody into Karl Anthony Towns. Like, she's just like, she's just unstoppable. And I think, like, I can see her making it very, very difficult for like a Battier or Irene Paredes or Olga Carmona. Like, I think, figure out who's on what side. But I'm always just kind of thinking about that Spain matchup, or even France, like an Elisa de Almeida, against a Trinity Rodman. It's going to be a long day. It's going to be a lot of warnings, maybe a card or two. That's just such a tremendous advantage. And I think trying to think about how to defend all these different players. And you have Kat Macario, who's like very calm, very chill, high IQ, super accurate. I mean, it's going to be tough. If this team puts it together, I mean, it's going to be interesting. We're going to have the favorite discussion at some point. Yeah. We're going to have a proper Olympics lead in where we get really cooking on all 12 teams. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed. But maybe I'm overreacting a little bit. Maybe, the shirt's getting to me. It's a little tight. It's just constricting my oxygen here. But I think, man, like just watching offensively, what kind of problems they're going to be able to create for these other teams is just very, very encouraging.
100%. I mean, I love Rodman's game so much. She had those moments I mentioned at near the top of the show when she needs to get to the end line, when she wants to get to the end line to serve in the cross. She is. You're not keeping up with her, and she gets to that right foot. She gets that little tap to get the ball over. Obviously, with my bias, my allegiances in men's football, it's got some Jack Grealish to it, where it's like, you have to foul me because you can't keep up with me. Prime Jack Grealish. Not this year's Jack Grealish. I digress. We wouldn't disrespect you like that, Trinity. But then she does all that, and then there are just multiple moments in this match where she's just taking the ball from you in our defensive third, in the USA's defensive third. She's just all over the field. I just love everything about her game. She's pacey. Like you said, she's smart. She times the runs well, and she is unselfish enough to go back and say, yep, I am going to commit absolutely everything I have on the defensive end. And you got to love a winger like that. And I want to dismount with this because you jogged it in my mind. Trinity Rodman versus Olga Carmona. Trinity Rodman versus Elise de Almeida. Might be looking at some 90s Detroit Pistons basketball in some of those matchups, buddy. It might get a little physical, I think.
I think so. It's interesting because Rodman likes to chatter with the refs a little bit. She's got a little bit of Luka to her game, or a little bit of Draymond maybe to her game, which I love. She's obviously got the NBA DNA. But I mean, I'm also kind of just jazzed about the free kicks. Imagine this too. She's getting fouled in the attacking third. Now all those fouls become Kat Macario free kicks. That's going to be a little bit more potent, I think, than we're used to seeing. So those become a lot more valuable, in addition to just causing headaches, for the defense and for the defensive game plan.
Yep.
Obviously, these two teams lock up again on Tuesday, June 4th. What are you going to be looking for when these teams run it back?
Lily Johannes. Oh, wait, did I say, whoa, was that too fast? Yeah, Emma, put her in the game. Like, I want to see Johannes play. Yeah, just put her in the game. We're probably going to win. No disrespect to South Korea. I feel like we haven't talked a lot about, I don't feel like we haven't talked a lot about South Korea. I am fully aware that we have not mentioned South Korea at all. I thought their low block looked good early. I thought they held up pretty well. I mean, 30 minutes, I thought they were able to get some key interceptions. Really cool to see Casey Fair out there for South Korea. Quick digression on South Korea, if you don't mind. Julie Foudy mentioned it. I had read it before the match. I was completely unaware of this. Casey Fair is the first biracial player to play for the South Korean national team. I think she was born in Jersey. So, great moment for her. Good young player. I think she's only 16. Casey Fair's 16 years old playing for Angel City.
Very cool.
Very cool to see that for South Korea. But, hard to run with us, hard to run with the USA on their home soil. But back to what you're saying, I want to see Johannes in the game to see how she's going to look in this kind of international play with our players. We got her on the roster. That's step one. Step two is to make sure she's comfortable in training. I haven't heard any reports otherwise. And now step three, put her in the match place. Even if you give her 20 at the end of the match, I think it would be worth seeing. Again, not to question Emma Hayes. I think she knows quite a bit more about football than I do, but come on.
I mean, no arguments here, man. I think she would fit extremely well also kind of in that, maybe more that defensive posture, kind of midfield section. She's just such a big, physical, smart player, and she's used to getting the ball and moving it. So you imagine, Gurma finding Lily in the middle of the park, quick head on a swivel, and now the ball's all, now we're in the attacking third in 2.3 seconds flat.
Yeah.
We need to see this because, what if it's incredible? That's the other part. This is not essentially Christian Leitner on the '92 Dream Team, where it's just you already know that this is here. We're just having some fun with this 12th spot.
Right.
This is a player that absolutely can contribute. We talked about her contributions in the Champions League. She was right up there in terms of creating offense, passing, pass accuracy, just general positive play with the Kat Macarios, with the Lindsey Horans, with the Corbin Alberts, with the Eva Gaitinos, all those American players that are playing in Europe. Yeah. Emily Fox, she's on that level. She just happens to be 16 years old. So I couldn't agree with you more. We have to see 10, 15, 20 minutes of what this looks like and give Lily a chance to actually, kick off her USWNT career. Yeah. Can we say that? Yeah. Even though there's some cap-tied mechanics to this, but I don't know. Let's kick it off already. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is the time to start getting some information. But as I say that, I do recognize that Emma Hayes would look at us and be like, all right, boys, maybe settle down. I'm getting plenty of information from these training sessions. I know what I'm talking about here. But yeah, Emma, think about us. What about us? We would like to see her play in the matches. So that's I'll make the very professional and polite plea. Come on. Just put Lily in the match. That's as far as I'll go with it, I think.
Listen, training is one thing, but the great Allen Iverson said it best. Talk about practice.
Practice?
Not a game. Not a game. Talking about practice. Let's see it in the game. If Allen Iverson said it, I'm with it. You already know what time it is.
It's gospel. Well, most stuff. Let's not tie ourselves to all that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Nobody shoots 100% from the field.
That's right.
Anything else you want to hit on USA, South Korea before we get out of here?
I think we largely covered it. I think the other piece I might want to see is, we have Hal Hirschfeld on the squad.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see her get some minutes too. Hopefully that's what this second match is for. If we don't get to see Croy Bethune play in this squad, which is another potential number 10 that we're going to have to figure out a way to get onto the pitch at some point, who's going to just play her way onto the field, we might as well see Hirschfeld as well. And then the other thing, I wouldn't be surprised. Let me put my take chip on the prediction. We'll probably see Casey Murphy in the next match in goal.
I could see
Jane
that.
Campbell played well. She had a couple moments where you would have probably liked her to hold the ball instead of kind of knocking it away the way she did. You feel confident about your two backup goalkeepers with Nair out between Campbell and Murphy. I think you have some good options there, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see Casey Murphy in this next one.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like we mentioned, this next matchup with South Korea going down Tuesday night. We'll be back midweek recapping that one. We're warming up too. We're in training. We're in practice. We're running around getting ready for Paris in July. So we will be back midweek to break down that second match. In the meantime, though, I want to cross the pond, head over to Europe, talk a little Euro qualifiers. This was the third match in the group stage. Some stakes here. As a quick reminder, I'm not going to go through the whole machination, but essentially Group A, which is where the best 16 teams are. If you finish first or second in your group, you make the Euro 16. You make the knockout stage. If you finish third or fourth, you're still in the mix, but then you have to go to that 28-team playoff where you got Group B teams, you've got Group C teams. Shit gets messy. Then those 28 teams become 7 teams, and that's how we get our final Euro qualifier 16. Switzerland as the host country, they're already in. So you want to finish top 2 in the group, just so you don't have to, muck it up with the other 28 that are going to be vying for those spots in the Euros as well.
Yep.
I want to quickly run through some results here. This one's tough, buddy, but I just want to get out of the way. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. England 1, France 2. France now in full control of the group. England, with this result, actually fall to third in the group. So they're in that final 28, but still 3 group stage matches to go, and they'll have a chance to go at Sweden to maybe make up some of that ground. What'd you see in this one?
France is really good, turns out. They have a lot of good players. They have players with incredible skill. You see a wonder strike from De Almeida. You see a genius finish. Marie-Antoinette Katoto. PSG showing up in full effect here. I'm going to take a posture where sometimes I can be a little pessimistic about my teams and, I can worry myself a little bit. No Lauren James in this one. And that changes everything about this squad. It changes the way you have to defend them. It changes the amount of people you can get forward against England. So I'm very interested to see LJ's status moving forward. Let's not forget, we're the reigning, defending European title holders. So they're going to be back. I didn't like some of the looks. I think that we could be a little more pacey. I think we could attack a little harder in spots. But again, with no LJ in the lineup, maybe that's harder to do. So I'm going to reserve judgment. I was a little bummed going back and watching it after the workday on Friday. We'll be back, though. We're not scared. And like you said, we get to play Sweden. And, that should be a hell of a football game. We'll make some hay against Ireland, take care of business versus Sweden. I think, we get a draw versus France here. I think we're locked and loaded if that's the case.
Yeah, I think the game looked pretty even. Obviously 2 just moments of absolute quality, from a couple of your favorites. So that had to hurt a little bit, Dalmeida and Marie-Antoinette Katoto. It's funny, France is sort of like, they might show up like, the kid that was bullied in 7th grade and went through a growth spurt in the summer. And now he's showing up for 8th grade and he's 6'3" and he's doing 80 push-ups a day. France got some of those vibes too. PSG obviously took their lumps against Lyon. Lyon took their lumps against Barcelona. Nations League, Spain versus France. France looked DOA in that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to be interested to see kind of like where France goes from here if they continue to just lock in and just be like, we're going to take every single minute that we're on the pitch the most serious that we possibly can, just because we're tired of this shit. And I think they're good enough to be able to make that happen. Let's scoot ahead though. Ireland 0, Sweden 3. Sweden get a big win, 3 goals, allow them to leapfrog England. As mentioned, some big moments from a couple ITC favorites, Johanna Rutten-Kanerud, Fridolina Rolfo. Ireland hung in, but Sweden gave them that work. when it was all said and done?
Ireland had multiple chances in the first half that they could have finished. They just could not convert. They had a really nice flurry in the 9th minute. They had another quality chance in the 21st minute. It's hard to get that final touch to make that final finish. And you're right. Ritten Kanerud put in my notes, this is a JRK game. She was bossing everything. Ireland did not have a lot of answers. Katie McCabe and company were able to kind of hold off for a little while. But once Kanerud gets that first goal, it's like, okay, this is getting dicey. Rolfo gets the second before then later Kanerud gets the brace. But they were kind of holding on for dear life in this one. And then it also doesn't help that Musovic, if you're having a hard time scoring on your own and you're slightly missing some chances, Musovic gives you nothing for free either. So Sweden's tough to beat when they look like that.
Musovic looks like a different player when she puts on the Sweden
She's
kit.
awesome.
I mean, what's
God,
good,
man.
And I want to hit Fridolina Rolfo real quick because she's such a great player.
Yeah.
And I feel bad that we kind of took her as a given for Barcelona, the Champions League. I'm just like, all right, she's great. Nothing to see here. But her sequence against Ireland where they got the 2-on-1, I think she's running it with Kanerud. She fires it at the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper makes a very professional stop. And Rolfo's like, could have done better there with the 2-on-1. Maybe like 5-10 minutes later, she's got another look. Ball finds her. She collects herself, takes a look at where am I going? All right, top corner, just cross the goalkeeper, little wicked bend on it. Let's do that, make it 2-0. She's an unbelievable player. What a freaking luxury. She's just effective. There's not a blade of grass out there where she can't affect the game. I kind of feel bad we didn't mention her more. She's just an excellent player. What else can you say?
Yeah, I mean, 30 years old, great experience, has the ability to play left back and left wing, as we see like with some of these versatile players like that. You could play her at left midfield if you felt like it. And I think Barcelona did at times. Yeah, I mean, that strike, to get the second goal to really kind of put things away at that point. Absolute quality. And I'm glad you shouted out Ireland's goalkeeper. Courtney Brosnan had a rough go in the WSL this season for Everton. 34 goals allowed in 20 matches played. Everton was kind of fighting to stay up. I feel like Brosnan was not exposed exposed as not that good of a player. Goalkeeper exposed, where you're kind of looking up at your defense like, can I get a little help here, please? So I thought Brosnan, it's funny to say in a 3-0 loss, I thought Brosnan held on about as much as she could with JRK and Rolfo running at her. So unfortunate for them, but like we said, Sweden, a lot of good players, a lot of professional. We know what kind of performance to put in this moment. And, that's why they make the knockout stage of the World Cup. You pretty much pencil them into that every year.
Absolutely. I want to shift gears. Let's go to Group A1. This group's pretty fun. Netherlands, Norway, Italy, Finland. So we got a fun matchup between Norway and Italy. No goals, though. A little bit of a toughie in that department. They finished 0-0. Norway sitting in second place in the group. Italy sitting in third place, both on 4 points. Norway just a smidge ahead, goal differential. Italy not able to make up any ground with this one as they go 0-0. What'd you see here?
First observation, because we are in the United States of America and I had to watch this through a semi-blurry video on YouTube.
Same.
Of the Italian broadcast. Were you watching the Italian broadcast?
Yeah.
Okay, so I get the feeling we're on the same feed here. So maybe it's because the video was kind of blurry, but the numbers on the back of Norway's jerseys looked wild to me. Like I was having like a hard time determining what they were, but I was like, they look sick. Like the jerseys look cool. But there was one time where Graham Hansen had the ball and I was like, wait, who is that? And I was like, oh, the second best player in the world. Okay, gotcha. I know who that is. I watch. So that was a little tricky. I think the feed was kind of playing into that.
Real quick, those kits look so fire.
They were very cool.
The number treatment on them, it just looked like some XFL shit. Just some futuristic, post-apocalyptic. This is how we're putting our numbers on our jerseys now. I was way, way, way into that look. Yeah,
super cool. And they deserve it for a team with amazing players like that. They should get we're making a lot of cross American sports references, but the old school Atlanta Falcons where they had Michael Vick, and so they're here are 12 different jersey combinations, and all of them are kind of badass. It's I'll buy several of these. Norway could have won this match. They're better than Italy. Credit to Italy. Tough, hard-nosed. They play that defensive style. You already know what you're going to get from them. But yeah, Tottenham's Celine Bizet, she missed a golden opportunity right before halftime. CGH doing CGH things, blistering run, great move to create space near the top of the 18, hits an absolute rocket. Great save, to credit Laura Giuliani. Unfortunate last name. Not the point of this exercise. Giuliani makes an important save. It's been a long time since anybody said that in America. It falls right to Bizet, and she skies it over the crossbar. I felt like if that one goes in right before halftime, we might be looking at a very different second half. But I think the last thing I took away from this, so I'm curious about your opinion on this. We are obviously two objective journalists who call these things right down the middle, who only report the news.
Always.
But can I just make an appeal to Gemma Granger, Norway manager? Can we get some Braun players on the field, please? Like, yeah, I see him on the roster. Like, I see him on the roster. Can we put in at least one?
I mean, can one get on as a sub? Can we just get a little bit of Braun energy into this? Because let me tell you, Guro Reiten, Ingrid Engen, Carolina Graham Hansen, I'm forgetting a bunch of great players. This should be enough to get on the board against Italy at home in Euro qualifying. I don't know, man. I don't know what you lose by injecting some of that Braun energy into this lineup. And I know we've got a lot of friends in Norway who do rock with the show. Please let us know what's wrong with this team, because there's clearly something a little bit amiss.
Yeah, and this is what's making it tricky with us having a hard time kind of following top Syrian a bit. Like, are Jelland and Gaupset, are they like nicked up? Like, do they have like a little nagging injury or something? Like, because why would you not? For sure, Gaupset. Why in the fuck is she not on the field is my question. Yeah. And you know what Jelland brings to the table too. So why, to your point, why is she not getting 30 minutes? Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a piece we're missing. We're not gonna crush Gemma Granger yet. I mean, if you continue to not play Braun players, I think you know what kind of time we're on. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just please, to our pals in Norway, let us know what's happening over there.
Oh yeah, that's much appreciated. Let's hit the other matchup in that group. The Netherlands 1, Finland 0. I thought Finland looked pretty live. Yeah, they've got some good players. They were all on the same page, which I appreciated. But Netherlands, the more experienced team, the more talented team, they lead Group A1 by a pretty thin margin, but they're still sitting up top, and they get a big win at home, 1-0 over Finland.
Yeah, time for another player who gets the initials treatment. Daniela Van de Donk, VDD. This was her match. She was on one. She was bossing the game. Mm-hmm. There was a moment relatively early in the match. I think it was like super early in the match where I want to shout out, even though we were watching it, this feed, not as blurry on YouTube of what I got to watch, not as blurry as the Norway match. We got to make sure we clean that up here for our pals in Norway. But where Van de Donk gets a steal, and it felt like NFL Films old footage of Van de Donk gets the steal and it's in slow motion, and you see her as she's getting the steal. Like, she knows it's happening. She knows it's on her left foot, and you can just see her slowly. She just looks up, like, does that turn. And like,
I saw that.
Who's running with me? And I was like, God, that's great camera work. And it just speaks to what a genius she is, how in tune with everybody else she is. They get on the break. It was a near miss on goal, but it was just perfect camera work to show that she is the type of player who her brain just immediately switches. Yep, I got the ball. I'm in control. We're going forward. I'm picking out the perfect pass. How far do I got to carry it? How far does everybody else got to run? It's like you could see the computer working in real time in slow-mo. And it's just what kind of player she is and what kind of talent she has. And I thought this was her match.
She just has like a drive, in these matches. And I think like she's just a little bit undeniable when she wants to just make something happen.
Yep.
One of my favorite players, I think, former Arsenal gunner. Had a great World Cup. Had a really good Champions League as well. Obviously, they couldn't get it done, but she's just love watching her play. Lika Martens was really cool to see her put one on the bar, get really close. And I think like you kind of forget how stacked that Dutch team is. Awesome. You got Esme Brooks out there, Sharita Spitz out there, just kind of directing traffic. Lynette Berenstein. You might have a little something on her. What another IC? I kind of want. I mean, I know she's in Serie A Femenil, but I don't know. Could she play in the NWSL? Could we see her in NWSL? Could we see her in a different setup? I feel like we're missing out a little bit on the Lineth Bierenstein, the full Lineth Bierenstein experience. And I guess I'm going to fully raise my hand and say maybe I could do more checking in on Serie A femenil. But I don't know. She's just one of my favorite players. She's just so explosive, and like it just feels like at any moment, just dynamite's going to come out of her boot.
I'm looking at our document here again to take people behind the curtain. You know, Dino and I, we write out our notes. We talk about our discussion points. I didn't even put it in the doc. I thought the exact same thing. I thought I was going to spring it on you as a take surprise that she should come to the NWSL. Like, no disrespect to Serie A over in Italy. I'm sure she loves playing for Juventus. It's a historic club, all that stuff. That's crazy, man. Like the mind melding here is getting a little spooky. There's no way that she's not looking at like Bonda and Chewinga and like even like Mel Swanson and just looking at the number 9s, Sophie Smith, looking at those players and be like, yeah, I could impact a club like that. Now, I'm not saying she's as good as Bonda, but there's no doubt that Bierenstein's looking at those players and not thinking, I could do that. They got some money over there. What'd that media rights deal look like?
She could definitely. I mean, you put her on like Angel City or North Carolina or Houston or Utah or Seattle.
There we go. Yes.
There we go. Let's go. My bad. That's just my bad. Terrible oversight on my part. We should just send her straight to Seattle.
Come on, Lilith.
That's if you guys can't lock up Valentina Giacinti. She might be a little tougher to pry away from Italy, but I don't know. I feel like we can make this happen, make this work. Esme Brooks, another one.
Great.
Can we get her somewhere where she can get a little PT?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe switch sides Real Madrid, or maybe she wants to come over to Arsenal. Maybe she wants to come over. Seattle. Still some open spots on the field.
Yeah.
But to circle back to where we started, Netherlands, they sit atop their group. A couple other matches quickly I wanted to hit. Spain, not a whole lot to see here. They go to Denmark, come away with a 2-0 win. Anything catch your eye there?
I mean, yeah, not a big surprise like you pointed out. I would just like to say, for the record, to Denmark, I'm not sure what the scouting report looked like. I'm going to assume the scouting report did not say you can leave Jennifer Hermosa completely unmarked at the back post on a corner kick. Personally, I would try to clean that up. But other than that, I think Hermosa gets that goal on just kind of a howler by the defense on a corner. And then Bettayuelo draws a super clear foul. Caldente finishes it on the PK. Easy peasy win for Spain. Hard to expect anything less.
Yeah, they look like they're going to cruise they look like they're going to cruise straight to at least the semifinals of the Euros, if we're being honest here. Yeah. Denmark, they're still in a pretty good spot. They're second in Group A2, 6 points. They're 3 points out of Belgium. So they might be looking pretty good with regard to heading straight to that final 16 of the Euros. Yeah. The couple other ones. Germany 4, Poland 1. This one was exciting for a minute.
Yeah.
Poland jumped out ahead. Any big takeaways from this one?
Yeah, that Eva Pajor run in the first 48 seconds of the match, I think, is when she started taking the ball down the right wing. Just an absolute laser into the center of the 18. Our guy, Chris Sharples, on our Champions League final review, mentioned that Pajor is being looked at seriously. All the rumors are pointing of her going to Barcelona. That's exactly what the world needs. I'm sure everybody in League F is thrilled about that. But yeah, I mean, jumping out in the first 2 minutes of the match, getting a goal for Poland, it was looking spicy there for a minute.
Mm-hmm. That was interesting. Didn't have much after that, though. And Germany then notched the next 4 goals, some of them in pretty spectacular fashion. It was nice to see Lea Schuler kind of dust herself off. And I think, I think next year, again, shout out to our guy Sharples, who covers the Bundesliga. Mm-hmm. I think Bundesliga's got to be in the mix on it just has to be on the docket in terms of what we're checking in on and who's going to grab those Champions League spots, because there's a lot of stuff happening over there with Bayern making some big moves, Wolfsburg maybe sliding a little bit.
Yeah. Our pal Mariam Karabi over at She Scores Bangers, if you look back like a couple months at this point, she did some great reporting on the health of Frauen Bundesliga and kind of some of the financial struggles that they're going through. Check that out immediately. I thought they did okay on some counter opportunities later in the first half, but you're right. I mean, Germany started to really ratchet up the pressure. They ended up with 64% of the ball over the course of the match. They had 25 total shots to Poland's 7. They had 13 shots on target to Poland's 3. They had 12 corner kicks to Poland's 1. So it was just tighten the vice. They get the own goal in the 34th minute, which they force off a corner kick.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, disappointing World Cup for Germany. There's some excitement over there, though, that like, hey, we can get this thing turned around. And there's no better way to do it than a strong showing in the Olympics, which I'm very interested to see how they play over there.
100%. And if you're a USWNT fan, we're going to be seeing a little bit of this German team. We share a group heading into the Olympics. But, I mean, this lineup, Julia Gvin, Lena Oberdorf, Shuka Nuskin, Eula Brand, Alex Pop, Leah Schuler, Clara Buhl, Merle Froms in goal. I mean, they're pretty stacked. They're pretty stacked. Yeah. They're going to be tough to deal with. I think USA has got them on the talent side, but that's a team that could hang with pretty much any team in the world, I think, on their best day. So we will definitely keep a close eye on Germany as the Olympics approach. Wanted to give one last shout out to Portugal, who topped Northern Ireland 4-0. Carol Costa scored in the 25th. Lucia Alves, 2 goals. Catarina Amado, she scored a 4th. They're in Group B. So they got knocked down due to some unfortunate Nations League results. So they're kind of in that second tier. But I think they will absolutely be a threat and a force maybe in that 2018 playoff. They've got some work to do to make it to the knockout stage of the Euros. But shout out to them. They're one of the squads that we absolutely rock with. 4-0 over Northern Ireland to, get it done in match day 3 here.
Hell yeah. 3-0 in the group. 9 points out of 9, got a goal differential of +9, in firm control. Like, one of the tricky things about this kind of format for Euro qualifiers with the different groups and the different like leagues and these things is Portugal, no disrespect to Northern Ireland, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Malta. Portugal's in a different bracket than them. I mean, let's just be fair to Portugal here. So that's a tricky part about only having so many teams in League A and then having to kind of bounce down to League B. But, it's going to make the football way more competitive. I'll be interested to see over the next probably 10 years or so if the confederations continue to look at this and be like, hey, man, this is just not fair to teams like Portugal who they might not be able to crack this super elite of the elite, but they belong in that discussion.
Well, this is like the fun part of like these like multi-year Euro qualifier machinations is like everything that happens under the Euro umbrella counts.
Yeah.
So it's just like we're going to see teams because we've got some, we've got teams like Ireland, teams like Czechia, Belgium, Finland, teams that are Portugal probably should be favored over those teams, maybe on a neutral field. But it's just the nature of like the mechanics of the tournament. Like you win your Group B group and you get elevated on the next cycle.
Yeah.
And I think we're actually going to also see, well, this is how Portugal ended up in Group B. Like they finished in a 4th spot in a tough group, I think in the Nations League qualifying to fall back down. But it's really just going to cycle teams in and out. And I think the cool part about it is it's going to give teams an opportunity. We saw this with Iceland on the men's side, maybe like a decade ago, where you put something together, you start to build something for real. And obviously, like women's football is a much more wide open space.
Yeah.
You make the investments, you're going to advance. So I think like this could be a really cool opportunity for maybe a Group B team, a couple Group B teams, maybe a Group C team to really kind of make a big splash here just by investing and taking advantage of the mechanics of this type of qualification.
That is a really good point. And me as a paid agent for the proletariat, maybe I should not say, hold on, just keep all the big name teams up top. Maybe that was a little bit of my Portugal bias showing. Shout out to our guy Vespa, of course.
Shout out.
But yeah, like I think that makes sense. It does create some room for some cool surprises and things like that. I'll just be interested to see, and I know it's part of the game, but like if one squad has some bad injuries and they have a rough go in Euro qualifiers, now it's harder for them to get into the World Cup. It's like, that feels tricky.
I mean, the reality is like there's just fucking a lot of good teams in Europe now. You have England not making it, Netherlands not making it to the Olympics.
Yep.
We're going to just continue to see this.
That's true.
We had good teams not make the World Cup, especially on the men's side. It's been happening for a while. Like champions that have missed out 1 cycle later, 2 cycles later.
Yep.
So I'm kind of into it. I mean, I think, mix up the pot and, kind of see what comes out the other end. Makes things a little bit more exciting. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
No, I think that's it. I feel like we have adequately spanned the globe in this episode.
Love it. All right, man. I think we did it. This has been another episode of Into the Channel. Thank you for watching, listening, liking, subscribing, chiming in, commenting. I'm going to thank all our Norway friends in advance for commenting and letting us know what exactly is wrong with the national team here. But ultimately, thanks for hanging out with your boys. We really appreciate it. And remember, like if you liked, and subscribe or follow Into the Channel, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, X, Threads, Instagram, TikTok. We've got a lot of shit happening. So go find us in those places. We're going to try to make it as easy as we can to make ourselves findable. But in the meantime, just rock with us, listen to the pod, have a good time, chime in if you've got something to say. But we're available wherever you like to watch or listen. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, straight Sharpie in my personal starting 11, Mr. Grand Angle. I appreciate you, man.
Likewise, buddy. Appreciate the time today. Thank you for always doing you, always being yourself. We always want to make sure that all of our pals out there are doing the same. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you guys after the next U.S. Women's National Team match.